The cabin hummed with the dull roar of engines, but the air was thick with something far uglier. In seat 3A, Dr. Marcus Ellison, a black CEO whose name graced Forbes lists, felt the sting of a flight attendant's glare that wasn't just cold, it was venomous. Marcus adjusted his tie, his fingers steady despite the turbulence in his chest. He'd flown this route 100 times, first class, always the same, a nod, a smile, a drink. But today, the attendant Karen, her name tag hovered over him like a storm cloud. "Sir, you need to put your laptop away. Now," she snapped, her voice slicing through the cabin's hum. Marcus raised an eyebrow, his laptop already stowed. "It's in the bag," he said, calm but firm, pointing to the compartment. Karen's lips curled. "Don't get smart with me," she hissed, leaning closer, her breath hot with contempt. The passengers nearby shifted, their eyes darting between Marcus and Karen. A white man in 3B coughed, looking away. A young woman across the aisle clutched her phone, filming. Marcus felt the weight of their stares, the silent judgment that always seemed to follow him in spaces like this. "I'm not getting smart," he said, his voice low, deliberate. "I'm following your rules." Karen's face reddened. "You people always think you're above everyone else," she spat, the words landing like a slap. The cabin went silent, save for the engine's drone. Marcus stood, his 6-foot frame towering but composed. "Excuse me." His voice was a blade, sharp but controlled. Karen didn't back down. She stepped closer, her finger jabbing toward his chest. "Sit down, or I'll have you restrained." The word restrained hit Marcus like a brick. He'd heard it before, not in boardrooms, but in stories from his father, his uncles, men who looked like him, men who'd been reduced to threats in the eyes of others. "You're crossing a line," Marcus said, his heart pounding but his gaze steady. Karen's hand shot out, gripping his arm, her nails digging in. The cabin gasped. The young woman's phone shook in her hands. "Don't you dare talk back," Karen shouted, her other hand rising, brushing Marcus's throat in a fleeting, reckless moment of rage. It wasn't a chokehold, but it was close enough. The intent was clear. A flight supervisor rushed forward, pulling Karen back, but the damage was done. The cabin erupted, passengers shouting, some defending Marcus, others muttering about causing a scene. Marcus stood his ground, his eyes locked on Karen's, not with anger but with a quiet, unshakable dignity. "This isn't about a laptop," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is about you seeing me as less than human." The plane lurched violently, a sudden jolt that sent trays crashing and screams piercing the air. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Prepare for an emergency landing. Brace positions now." Oxygen masks dropped, and panic swept the cabin like wildfire. Marcus sat, buckling in, his mind racing. Was this a coincidence, or had the chaos he'd just endured shaken the very air they flew through? As the plane descended, the young woman with the phone leaned toward Marcus. "I got it all," she whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. "The world needs to see this." Marcus nodded, his jaw tight. He wasn't just a passenger anymore. He was a symbol of something bigger, something that had simmered too long. The wheels hit the tarmac with a screech, and the plane shuddered to a stop. Emergency lights flashed outside, sirens wailed. Karen was escorted off by security, her face pale, her defiance crumbling. Marcus remained seated, his breath steadying. Passengers whispered, some apologizing, others avoiding his gaze. The young woman uploaded her video, the caption simple, "This is why we fight." In the days that followed, the footage went viral. Marcus's name trended, not just as a CEO, but as a man who'd stood tall against hatred. The airline issued apologies, fired Karen, and promised reforms, but Marcus knew words weren't enough. He spoke at a press conference, his voice calm but unyielding. "This wasn't about one flight. It's about a world that still judges me by my skin before my character. We have to do better." The young woman's video sparked protests, conversations, and change. Marcus didn't want the spotlight, but he carried it, knowing silence was no longer an option. He returned to his work, his mission clearer than ever: to build a world where no one's worth is questioned because of who they are. As he boarded another flight weeks later, the crew greeted him with respect, their eyes free of judgment. Marcus took his seat, opened his laptop, and smiled faintly. The skies felt a little lighter, but the journey was far from over. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.